नमस्कार. जवाहरलाल नेहरू पोर्ट प्राधिकरण प्रस्तुत लोकसत्ता पोर्ट्स कॉन्क्लेव्हमध्ये पुन्हा एकदा आपल्या सगळ्यांचं मनपूर्वक स्वागत. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या आपल्या सगळ्यांकडून. धन्यवाद. या कॉन्क्लेव्हचे सहप्रयोजक आहेत मुंबई पतन प्राधिकरण आणि कॉर्पोरेट प्रयोजक आहेत CII. यानंतर पुढच्या सत्राला आपण सुरुवात करूया. मी मान्यवरांना व्यासपीठावरती आमंत्रित करतो. सर्वप्रथम माननीय श्री संजय सेठी साहेब. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या त्यांच्यासाठी झाल्या पाहिजे. ऑनरेबल एक्स चेअरमन जवाहरलाल नेहरू पोर्ट अथॉरिटी. यानंतर मी आमंत्रित करतो श्रीमती शर्मिला अमीनजी. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या त्यांच्यासाठी. ऑनरेबल MD बेटलिंग लॉजिस्टिक इंडिया प्रायव्हेट लिमिटेड. यानंतर आमंत्रित करतो श्री अंशुल सिंघल साहेब, ऑनरेबल मॅनेजिंग डायरेक्टर वेल्सपून वन लॉजिस्टिक पार्क्स. यानंतर आमंत्रित करतो डॉक्टर रवींद्र उडगीकर साहेब, ऑनरेबल VP कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रॅटेजी प्राज इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या त्यांच्यासाठी पण झाल्या पाहिजे. आणि यानंतर आमंत्रित करतो श्री विशाल कामत साहेब यांना, ऑनरेबल व्हाईस चेअरमन CII महाराष्ट्र अँड CEO कामत हॉटेल इंडिया लिमिटेड. या मान्यवरांशी संवाद साधण्याकरिता मी आमंत्रित करतो द इंडियन एक्सप्रेस समूहाचे सिनियर असिस्टंट एडिटर श्री सुकल्प शर्मा यांना.
Hi. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And on behalf of Loksatta and the Express Group, I would really like to welcome you to this panel discussion. And a special thanks to all our esteemed panelists for taking out time from their busy schedules to be here with us. Now post-lunch sessions can get a little boring, and they sometimes are a little difficult to sit through, but we'll try and keep it interesting for all of you. So the topic before us today is Future Horizons Post-Centric Industrialization with a focus on Maharashtra. And today we have on the panel to my left, Mr. Anshul Singhal, MD, Wellspun One Logistics Park. We have Mr. Sanjay Sethi, who just recently concluded a successful stint as the chairman of the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Authority. Then we have Ms. Sharmila Amin, MD, Bertling Logistics, Dr. Ravindra Udgekar, who's Vice President Corporate Strategy at Praj Industries, and Mr. Vishal Kamath, who's the Vice Chairman for CII in Maharashtra and also the Chief Executive Officer for Kamath Hotels India. When we talk about port-led industrialization, this has sort of become a bit of a buzzword over the last few years, particularly with the focus on growth in the maritime sector, growth in ports infrastructure in the country. With the Sagarmala project, with Maritime India Vision to 2030, so it's something that that is being talked about a lot, and Maharashtra being one of the preeminent coastal states, maritime states, it's imperative that we talk about Maharashtra in that context. Now, from what we gather, port-led industrialization is among the few pillars of port-led development model, which is, as per the Maritime India Vision 2030. It envisages a system or an ecosystem with coastal economic zones, industrial clusters at competitive locations, industrial units, evacuation infrastructure, and all sort of line into one single system on a regional basis, which can really streamline logistics, bring down costs, push export and import, essentially push India's trade, and just take us to the next level of growth. So I'd first like to open with Mr. Sethi. So if you could demystify this entire talk about port-led industrialization, and if you could encapsulate for us what it could mean for India, say 5 to 10 years from now. If you could just help us with that, particularly members of the audience who might not be very well versed with how the ports and the shipping sector works. It's on.
Okay. All right. To put things in perspective, let's try and question this whether ports can lead industrialization to the extent that ports were meant to be the places where you are loading and unloading, and it probably should not be directly linked with how much are you producing in the country, how much are you exporting in the country. However, over the years, throughout the world, there have been very good examples of how ports could develop as engines of growth. Uh, this has to be typically seen in terms of what you just now mentioned, that if it helps to make our exports more competitive. The competitive part would obviously come from the fact if overall logistics cost are, Honorable Prime Minister mentions it all the time, as you would have heard, that in our country the logistics cost roughly 13 to 14% of the GDP, while in the developed countries it is a single figure, which is anything like 7 to 8%. So the point is that if we could be looking at the whole supply chain in a manner where ports have a very, very big important role there, if we can help reduce these costs, obviously your exports will become competitive. Some of the experiments in this that we have done are, one is the SEZ in JNPA. The JNPA SEZ in that sense is not so big, 277 hectares. Out of that, we probably can lease about 160 odd or so. And the idea is that if you are doing some packaging, sorting, grading, or even storage of a certain type, you are saving so much money because a typical exporter uh, has to catch that window. He normally tries and comes 7 days in advance, 6 days in advance. So once you have taken out those or saved those 4 or 5 days, you're straight away contributing to the reduction in time and cost, which in turn is making you competitive. SCZ, otherwise, SCZs in this country are not truly a success story, as we all know. But JNPA SCZ has exceeded everybody's expectations in that sense. Of course, the infrastructure is very good, plug and play, everything. In fact, we have one of our recent clients sitting here to my right, Welspun. So that is one. Second is we also tried to do these dry ports. Now, what is the concept of a dry port? The dry ports at Jalna and Wardha, which have now been converted into MMLPs. MMLPs are multimodal logistics parks. Multimodal logistics parks essentially means that we tried to give a rail connectivity, but the NHAI gives road connectivity also. And in that sense, my SCZ has a coastal this thing also. So you're connected by water, rail, and road. So these dry ports are another experiment of how port-led industrialization is reaching those backward areas where, because of the availability of a direct linkage from there, a dry port is essentially an ICD kind of concept, but it basically means that all your customs clearances, everything is being done there. So all the uncertainty, the risk part, so we are absorbing a part of that risk in a sense. So port-led industrialization essentially has to be seen in terms of how the exporter can become competitive by being in the proximity of the port or linked to a port in a way where he can reduce its time and cost. I think I'll come back again if you want to. I thought I've already spoken a lot, so.
And so I just wanted to understand from you, after having headed JNPA for
5 years.
5 years now, and uh, how has the experience been? Because JNPA among Indian ports, and particularly among the government-owned major ports, it has excellent connectivity in terms of cargoes going and coming from the hinterland. And that is something that is sort of a model that you have mastered at JNPA. Uh, how is that looking in terms of other ports, and specifically if we can talk about the other ports in Maharashtra, or the non-major ports in Maharashtra specifically?
Okay, if you want the overall understanding, as you would know, Mumbai port now basically deals with liquid. So it has some inherent limitations in terms of the draft, etc., where the larger vessels cannot go. So the larger vessels now come to JNPA. And in terms of containerized traffic, because world over, the level of containerization is very high. The level of containerization in this country is still very low. Even in developing countries, anything around 60 to 70% cargo is containerized, but in our country, it's just 30 to 35%, which is very, very low. So within the containerized traffic, basically between Mundra and JNPA, and maybe if you add a Pipavav, etc., we handle almost 76-77% of the containerized traffic of this country. Now, having said that, the other bigger exciting part, of course, I would like to talk about it in more detail, is that we've started the process of doing this new port called Vadhavan. A lot of you might be aware. So the good news there is that we have reached that point where we are all set for all the final environment clearance, where we will be able to now roll out all the tenders, etc., to actually start it. The big clearance of the Dahanu Taluka Environment Protection Authority, because of which the project could not go ahead till now. We got that clearance, or that NOC, on the 31st of July. And after that 31st of July, all the rest of the other things, including a public hearing at Daman, because we are getting sand from there, which is about 50 kilometers from there, which will come through the sea, etc. So the other public hearing in Dahanu will happen now on the 19th of January. That opens up a full, since your topic is more about industrialization, that opens up a very, very big scope for industrialization in this whole MMR region. If we were to talk about Mumbai metropolitan region, I think very technically Dahanu may not be a part of MMRDA, this thing, but let's call it the Thane, Palghar, Mumbai belt, or Raigad belt. This is essentially the region which already has the ecosystem for industry. The industry ecosystem is so important that ultimately, when you say a Chakan or a Talegaon attracts that, why does it attract? Because already there's an existing ecosystem. So it is in terms of the skills available, it is in terms of the educational institutions, it is in terms of the kind of labor and other things that you require for your units is what is more important. So Vadhavan and JNPA in the next 2, 3, 4 decades will provide this huge, immense scope for industrialization in this area.
So, and now I'd like to just go to the logistics players amongst us. So, just wanted to understand, how do you currently view the system, and the entire ecosystem that's been developing, when we talk about ports-led industrialization in this country, and specifically in Maharashtra. So, Mr. Singhal and then Ms. Amin can take this question.
I think Sethi Saab has covered it extremely well. So, if India is to go from X trillion to X trillion, I won't say the exact numbers, we all know that number keeps changing on which year of election it is. But if India is to grow from X trillion to X trillion, then at least if, say, 50% of that number is true, one of the major contributors to that GDP growth has to be trade. Now, for trade, just to break down trade, right? As Sir was already saying, certain ports have certain drafts and certain ports don't. So, majoritarily, typically, India has been a bulk trade country so far over the last years, and now, of course, it is slowly migrating. In fact, pretty fast over the past few years post-COVID. migrating into a product-led trade. So the share of the product wallet is increasing in trade pretty quickly over the last specifically 3-4 years. Now we see that coming in, big brands coming in into the country, big companies coming in, wanting presence here. Everybody wants to be in India today. Now, if that is to happen, if products are supposed to increase more, and bulk obviously will continue going up, but products will go up significantly faster. So we'll have a healthy share of both in the country, and that's the ideal situation for any country to be in. If the logistics cost has to come down from 13 to 6-7%, which supported by the national logistics policy, the ambitious Bharatmala project, and so on, and there are multiple, the maritime vision, so many wonderful policies and the initiatives that the government has taken. All of these 5-7 things, right, put port into the center of it. Because without good airports, without good ports, without good infrastructure, we cannot increase the wallet size of trade to the wallet size of our 5 trillion, 10 trillion goals. We can't do that. So trade becomes an extremely important part of our growth story in the next few years to come. Now, trade also, for it to function, I think industrialization automatically becomes a byproduct. Indians are so entrepreneurial by nature that when there is an opportunity next, if the opportunity is given, if the infrastructure is given, if the policies are made right, then I think we have some of the most daring entrepreneurs in our country who will go and set up industries next to these, next to a JNPA or the upcoming ports, etc., etc. I mean, we took 55 acres recently inside JNPA. I think we would be one of the largest, if not the largest, SEZ holders today already. And we feel that this is just the starting point for a company like us, because we believe in the India story. We believe in the way JNPA has done that. What we are planning to do there is directly linking with infrastructure growth. So we specialize in giving infrastructure. So we are co-developers to JNPA, right? We are co-developers to the SEZ. So what we would do is we would put the capital ahead of the growth, which means that inside that 55 acres land, we will go start developing immediately the infrastructure, the land development, the water, the power, and start constructing grade A warehousing storage facilities, both temperature controlled, non-temperature controlled, for potential tenants to come in, lease and operate their space. So we are effectively assisting the government to provide that infrastructure. Now that support can further catalyze what the government is trying to do. So step one would be to clear the land, get the environment clearances. The hardest part is what the government is doing, to be very honest, right? Now step two is something we are saying that, okay, listen, now all this is already in place, policy is in place, will now come and put the capital infrastructure for you to be able to then operate. So I think more companies like us, if they can come forward and if they can, and catalyze the infrastructure growth, as co-developers and co-partner to a JNPA and other ports across the country, I think the growth story of the country will be phenomenal. That's my view. I hope I've covered that. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Okay, so I'm the in-between person between the port and the manufacturer. So I'm the freight forwarder. Now, over the years, we are the one who have to find the solutions, which port we can take your cargo to. The team before us, Mr. Nandkumar, very nicely mentioned about how the infrastructure of the ports or the roads is not there to move big packages, which took nearly 6 months. It took 1 year just to be on the correct side for the Panipat refinery, because first time on the roads there was a 950-ton single package which was moved from L&T Hazira to Panipat. So we actually tried to find a way. Now it started with Bombay Port at one time. You could bring in heavy lift packages for all our nuclear power, thermal power, hydropower projects. I remember the whole port used to be so full that you could actually do it. Now with the bridges coming out, you cannot bring these break bulk vessels anymore to Bombay Port. So we take them to Nhava Sheva. Of course, Nhava Sheva only gives us limited time, space, and the wharf drawings, because the port is not designed to take heavy lifts. So they can only give you 5 metric ton per square foot, that you got to design your equipment and within 8 hours empty, because it's a container port. So what is the alternate now? Diggy, midstream discharge. You see, Godrej is still there. All these big manufacturing units are still there. The only one that shifted out of Bombay was L&T, which went to Hazira. And from Hazira itself, again, they are not able to make a port. They still have to take the cargo out in barges into midstream and then load it into the. So we are not at this stage still ready where Maharashtra can have these kinds of port. But with the Vadhavan coming, I am very, very hopeful that this port, which will be between Gujarat and Maharashtra, will be the port for these heavy lift projects. What the country needs. I mean, we are talking only about these container vessels, container ships. No, we need the bigger ones now because we are going to the next step of our refineries and nuclears. And I've got some pictures later on which I will show you how we actually move this cargo on the roads in India to find the ports to do it. So incidentally, we had to move cargo from Hazira into a barge into Mundra. From Mundra, we did a rollout and then we went on the road and then went to Barmer and Panipat. So it's not that you can just do it as we think that take it to the port and that solves the problem. This was real multimodal, including making and constructing of bypasses and things like that. It nearly took a year to do these jobs.
So you mentioned a couple of interesting points there. So I just wanted to ask you about, because you are a very critical player in this entire ecosystem. I just wanted to get a sense from you as to where does Maharashtra stand today vis-a-vis. I mean, Gujarat has been a spectacular story in terms of port development, of course, and you're also seeing a lot of states and non-major ports now getting in. On the eastern coast particularly, and down south
So
from
what's happening? Most of our infrastructure, or let us say refineries and the bigger projects are all, right, said on the east side. This side, we are now stagnated. We have nothing more to expand here. Of course, Jetapur is a story which was supposed to have a nice big nuclear, the state-of-the-art latest nuclear, but because I think of the environment and even the inland waterways to reach Jetapur would be a tough time to move a nuclear plant of that size. Again, Ratnagiri refinery, same issue. We are not able to do it. I think Gujarat has far, far overtaken us, number one. And also, I would think in terms of Vizag. Vizag and, Gangavaram and Kattapulli and all those ports are really doing well. I mean, like you mentioned about Vizag port where the HPCL refinery is coming. That refinery is the latest refinery in the world, which will show you that last residual leftover of a refinery also can be used back to make power. So that's where the expansion is going on. Now, you couldn't come into Vizag port. He's right about it because Vizag port doesn't have the infrastructure to handle such a package. No way could it handle. What was the alternative? We have a Hindustan shipyard where our submarines are made. So if you came into Hindustan shipyard, which is where the only berth you could take, where the vessel could come in of this magnitude, and then from the port itself, in Hindustan shipyard, the refinery was just across. So you didn't have the overhead tension, wire lines, trees, permissions, everything could be obtained because the distance was just 10 kilometers. So as you rightly said, either our industrial products or our industrial plant or our manufacturing need to be on the waterfront, exactly as how China designed it. That is why you find in Gujarat, if you look at Hazira, where there's L&T, it's Reliance, you see all of them in a line, SR, all of them are so close to the waterfront. Now,
Sikka,
with
Vadina.
Thermex and all of them are right over there, ISJEC and all of them have gone there. So it is now, these ports will now develop and I think it'll happen. I've got gentlemen sitting here next to me from Praj. They manufacture in Pune. I can tell you when we do your packages, we have a tough time. We really have a tough time deciding where to bring it to and where to load it. But luckily, I think most of the packages we load from JNPT for them. So Bombay Port is completely no, now you cannot come because of the bridges and the height, you cannot bring it in.
Right. So what would be your recommendation to the Maharashtra government and even to the center? How to go about this and how to make the.
So some of the minor ports, they should try to make it a major port. Let it be privatized, as you rightly said, because the JNPT government is already making Vadhavan. But if you still need the smaller ones to go further down, like for Ratnagiri and for Pune and things like that, they should look at, of course, Digi now with Adani taking over. I'm very hopeful that port will become another success story.
Mr. Kamath, as the representative of the CII here, what is it that the industry is looking for when you specifically look at Maharashtra and port development and shipping in that sense, vis-a-vis other states in the country?
See, the main topic of ours was port-led industrialization. And industry doesn't only mean manufacturing. Industry, what is a port? A port is basically the tambu ka circus ka main pole, whether it is an airport, whether it's a dry port, whether it is any sort of port. Once a port is established, it becomes a fulcrum. And around that fulcrum, you have various other industries. Today, just in the prior panel, we had a discussion where now Kandla port is being expanded next to Mundra. What is going to happen in that area? Ultimately, who works? It's still not robots, it's people. So real estate will boom. What will happen? Common thing, right from a grocery vendor to a barber to a milkman. So when we talk about industry as a large needs to benefit. And when a good establishment comes, a port comes, an infrastructure along with that comes, there has to be a holistic growth. One of the main reasons why we sometimes find social tensions is because maybe the benefits to the society is not fully understood, or maybe sometimes it is not necessarily fully dwelled into. So I think we need to look at holistic growth. Just as today when we talk about infrastructure improving, it's not only for her that the infrastructure will improve. Even a common tourist today, if you look at it, Maharashtra has had a rich heritage of maritime history, and some of the ports even today are all based on where Shivaji Maharaj and others have created small ports, small gadis, small places. Those need to be looked. Today Vijay Durga has one of the deepest what do you call the deepest water depths, but unfortunately it's not looked at in terms of high berthing for a deep vessel. So if today we look at how can a blend of industrialization of all sorts, tourism is also an industry, real estate is also an industry, how one port comes, a simple Mumbai. See, before there was a Dubai, there was a Mumbai. And what was Mumbai's success? Mumbai's success was, apart from trade, you could have a good time. Sailors would come, people would come, they would be able to take break, relax and R&R jo bolte hai, rest and relaxation also became. After that came other businesses also. So when you look at the Taj Hotel, India's first iconic hotel, India's first five-star hotel, why is it in Mumbai? Because of the port. So if today Mumbai port has contributed so much to Maharashtra, India and the world, we need to see every port in its totality, that how every industry around will be able to support. Otherwise, why will anybody come to work if a minor port wants to become a major port? First thing people today ask, what about my children? Schooling. It's so sad. Just 15 years, 18, 16, 17 years back, even in a place like Khalapur, there was no proper hospital. When my one uncle had a very tragedy on the highway, it was Patal Ganga ka Reliance ka hospital where we had to go to, because government support was not there. The local clinic was inadequate. So overall industry, medical, educational, tourism, once all this infrastructure comes towards a port's support, then the port will get qualitative manpower also. So industry as a whole needs to be seen. Then you will have port-led industrialization, which will benefit common man to businessman.
Certainly, I mean, you raised quite a few interesting points there, giving new shades to this entire discussion. But you know, uh, in the Maritime India Vision 2030, and this question is for all of you, and you can take a jab at it. Sectors like refining and petrochemicals have been listed as priority sectors that can come up in coastal regions, specifically because we are heavily import dependent in the oil and gas industry, and it makes sense to be closer to the port. Turnaround time is much lower. There's no need to transport crude oil from a port to some refinery somewhere in the hinterland, and as a net exporter of petroleum products and petrochemicals as well, it makes sense for us to have it there. But incidentally, if you look at the Maharashtra story, it's been a bit disappointing. I'm not from Mumbai, I'm not from Maharashtra, but I'm from Delhi, and when we look at it from there, from a policy perspective, it's been pretty disappointing because, well, the country's largest single location refinery was to come up in Ratnagiri, then in Nanar. And that is exactly what the Maritime India Vision talks about in terms of port-led industrialization. But because of various reasons, political, local opposition, etc., that project has been hanging fire for a good 8 years now. So, how do you in the industry look at that? Because, well, we can talk about port-led industrialization till the cows come home, but, well, as long as projects like these are not going to take off, is there a point in even having this discussion?
I'll give a
Yeah,
small
one by one, all
example.
of you can
I'll give a
take.
small example of what happened. We have India's largest nuclear power plant down south in Kudankulam. When we did phase 1 and phase 2, we always thought everything was right, perfect, everything was done. We suddenly realized after the project started, the distance from the Tuticorin port to the site, which was 102 to 120 kilometers, there was no road, not even to take a container. Automatically, the road got made. Then came the problem of the people, that they were worried about the, big nuclear power plant, and this will happen, that will happen, and that was solved. And then, of course, the tsunami came. So when the tsunami came, this was something which nobody could be blamed, nor the government, nor the project, nothing. And everything got wiped out. And they realized that, that this is also nature which is going to be against them. So they changed their whole attitude and how it went. Today, the nuclear power plant is done phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 is on the verge of completion. So I don't agree entirely with the prospect that, things don't work. They will work on its own. They will work around it. Exactly as what will happen to Ratnagiri at some point of time. Because even those people, as you rightly said, are looking for quality life, quality change. Everybody has now got televisions in their houses where they can see what is happening in the world. And they want that. They want it for their children. They want it for everybody. So I think that change will come. It will take, of course, time. We are in a phase of big change and transition with this government. And I'm positive about things changing.
I'd like to add also that just because industry is coming doesn't mean it's a good thing, because it cannot be against the will of society. At the same time, society also cannot do things at the cost of industry. It is a symbiotic relationship. Just because somebody big is coming, you stop his progress is not also a right attitude. And somebody big coming at the cost of maybe the smaller society or the this thing is not a right. It has to be collaborative. If today, for whatever reasons, one place decides it does not want one thing, that doesn't mean that Maharashtra as a whole, which is one of India's largest, I mean, we are larger than most countries in Europe. Today, you have fantastic Samruddhi Mahamarg. Today, you have the fantastic bullet train coming. Today, you have so many other. I mean, Konkan Railway is a testament. Today it is faster thanks to the effort, the brilliant efforts of all these Marathi and other various engineers from Karnataka, Maharashtra, and across India who created the Konkan dream. So it's not fair to say one Ratnagiri is the poster child of Maharashtra and overall society. It is a local thing which probably will, with like she said, either with time or it may never come. That's okay. That's everybody's loss. If it's nobody's gain, it's everybody's loss. So we have to see what will basically benefit. Today, look at JNPT, the road which once upon a time was terrible. So JNP, sorry, I'm so sorry. I remember it still as they say. But when you look at it, now you see the road. So does that mean that our children have no future? Is that it? Just because one place said no? No, the future will be wherever else they will come. Today we were having a chat on Bhiwandi just before. Why people are not willing to move towards a newer location, even though the government is willing, industry is willing, but the consumer is not willing. You cannot force the consumer. Why is Bhiwandi more popular? Not because it's a great place. It's because it has everything. It's got habituated. You want labor, you will get a Hamali. You want engineer, forklifter, you will get it. If he wants to change his job, he has an opportunity. Why we should think only about ourselves? Today, if I also want to change my job and I'm in Bhiwandi, if I don't want to join in Sir's company, I can join Wellspun. I also have a employee have a choice. So why will I suddenly lose my choices and go to some place where I may not get that equal opportunity? So we have to see that growth has to be collaborative. And that's where forums like CI and its members work towards a sustainable and a what CSR we say, na, responsible growth. So I was appreciating Wellspun for the 300 acres of plantation they've done. Why have they done it? Who's going to go and see it? But they've done it because in business industry has a social conscious today. So we are growing. And once that conscious is seen by others, like Madam said about this the nuclear power plant, society will change.
I think my colleagues have more than summed it up. I don't need to add much. I just want to say that I completely agree with both of them that just because one project failed, I think as human nature, we tend to remember the failures and not the successes, right? And I think in Maharashtra there have been far more successes than failures. I think we have a very resilient state. Our state knows how to. I mean, I think in many ways, maybe when you look from Delhi, you need to look little with a different lens, because our state actually leads the country, right? In many, many ways. So from being the financial hub to the export hub to the trade hub, I can go on, and I think my colleague here has listed most of these things, the benefits of our state. It's not fair to start pointing fingers at an attempt, because at least as a state we have had the guts to attempt such large projects. Now, if you attempt 10, thank you. Thank you. So if you attempt 10 projects and fail at 7 and succeed at 3 large projects, you are still 3 large projects into what could have been. So I mean that's how I'd like to add. And lastly, I think I really respect Sethi sir sitting on my left. He has had a wonderful visionary time in JNPA for the last 5 years, and I think our state has fantastic lobby of officers and bureaucrats who know how to run the development properly. And I know sir's background very well, and he has come from very different parts of the state. Sir, you've done so many different parts. I think you definitely need a stab at this particular answer and giving us some more perspective.
I'm so happy that
Mr. Sethi,
sir.
sorry, I'd just like to add to your, when before you respond, just specifically for you, because you've worked with the government for so long. How big is local or regional politics a stumbling block, in such a vision? No, but because no, but because you worked with the government for so long, I wanted.
I still work with the government.
Yes, no, of course. But
Okay. No. I think let me sort of take the first part. When you start doing this Maharashtra bashing of saying that
just to be
Gujarat
clear, I wasn't doing any Maharashtra.
Gujarat has done better, and we keep doing this. I'll tell you, understand this part well. If you say the hinterland for JNPA as a port is North India, let's say NCR region or Gujarat, Maharashtra. So if a port in Mundra comes up, obviously it is closer to NCR, so it will go there. I mean, why do we keep saying that? Why has it gone to Mundra? Obviously, it will go to Mundra. Even today, I mean, now this is to the credit of JNPA that we still retain 35% of the NCR traffic, even though Mundra is closer. What does that mean? Again, what it means is that with a lot of pride we say this when we use this word best performing port or something. On all the efficiency indicators, we are much better than Mundra. What does that mean? Basically, the productivity, the efficiency parameters, which all the independent reports. So it's a very rare thing actually, because in the top 10 we are first, but we are the only major port in the top 10. So it basically means that you obviously have to work on that. But when you say, अरे भाई गुजरात के पोर्ट में ज्यादा क्यों चला गया, अरे भाई वहां से उनके पास है तो वहीं जाएगा ना वो. उसके बाद आफ्टर दैट व्हेन यू आर सेइंग दैट when we are doing this Vadavan port, Vadavan is going to be almost 3 times of JNPA. So when you say what is Maharashtra doing, I'm saying the future is really Maharashtra then. I mean, because if you look at the capacities of Mundra, Pipawa, Hazira, everything put together, and even if let's say a Nargol kind of thing comes up, which right now doesn't seem very likely, I'm saying they all put together also are not equal to a Vadavan. So the kind of capacities we are creating, obviously, mega projects, big projects take their own time. The heartening news, as I was already telling you, is that now it's there. It's going to be there. So this part, when we link with, Nanar did not happen. Obviously, when you say that there is some disappointment at that, of course there is a disappointment. When you say this can happen, this should work, this whole thing of understanding trade, and when you say what percentage of that, let's say, is POL, edible oils, and meaning what we call liquids and chemicals. So there is a certain percentage which in a sense is also an input rather than what is mostly going. Now if you will look at what we are really exporting with eastern ports and western ports, our commodity mix is also changing. It's changing a lot. In fact, when Anshul was talking about newer products, brands coming in, whatever, it's a very recent phenomenon. The typical container now contains so much high value cargo, which otherwise a container could be carrying just scrap to the mobile phones. It's the same container. You talk about these many containers have gone. The answer, the other part of your question, which says that whether local political issues, well, I'm saying in some measure in all states there are issues related to labor, about dealing with local political issues, etc. Maharashtra has been a state which takes a lot of pride in saying that we are not only the pioneers for a very big good industrial base. I'm saying why is this discussion only about a project went to Gujarat? So I'm saying the question to be asked is that is Gujarat not a part of India? Will industry not go to Gujarat? They will go there also. They will come to Maharashtra also. But look at the overall picture that last 3-4 decades, Maharashtra is a shining example of industrial growth and development. When you say some improvements, some challenges, of course there are challenges. Of course there are some issues that should need to be solved at the level of management, at the level of technology, at the level of people to people. When he says, the society has to go with it, I'm saying there is, let's say, a fisherman's opposition for Vadavan port. Of course. So what is the responsibility? The responsibility is that I deal with it most sensitively.
Yes.
I give compensation to the extent that I'm able to deal with it better.
Yes.
I provide livelihoods in a way which will make their lives better than what it is right now. If we haven't talked about a fishing harbor till now in Maharashtra, that's bad news. So a good fishing harbor by itself will mean, because when we deal with all this, I understand the whole economics of those small boats.
Right.
Could be from 1 cylinder to 6 cylinder, and how many labor, what is called khalasi, in that the Tandel is the guy who's like the captain of the ship, whatever. No, so I'm saying the economics of all that. When he says industry, port-led industry, so I'm saying in fact what is going to happen is that when a big port comes, the value add to all those exports is much higher.
Right.
We have this, again, a very suboptimal area of exports, which is these products, what do you call, the marine products, whereby a lot of fish, which, because it is not stored well, it is not packaged well, it is not graded, sorted, that we are not getting the right returns.
Yes.
Where if we end up doing this, it will add a lot of value to this.
Mr. Singhal, you wanted
And yeah, just to add on the local political environment in our country, right? So we operate approximately in 12 states today. And I must tell you, there are local political issues everywhere. But I think the main, let's go to the root cause of why politics exists to begin with. In any country, politicians are there for the people, by the people, of the people, right? They are trying to put a voice forward. Now, obviously, there are inherent issues in our political system, but that's different. The whole point is that if you have bad developer examples or bad industry examples who have taken advantage of people in the past, or who have taken done things which have been against the interest of the society, those stabs are very hard to forget. And these local political challenges have arisen from those stabs. So it is up to the good companies and the good industries and good bodies and good government practices to remove that trust deficit, to negate that trust deficit, right? So I think efforts like what I've been to JNPA recently, after many years we went there when we bought the land. Amazing. What work, what infrastructure, what roads, what land, what power. It is like Europe. I mean, there's no difference between what they've created there. It's phenomenal. So, I mean, that gives me hope as an Indian. I'm a very deep patriot, that this country is going places. So we believe in investing into those places. Now, once you see that progress coming up, those same local political challenges will slowly disappear, because the trust deficit would have been negated. People will see the performance, people will see job creation, people will see the tourism come back. So it's a matter of time, and I think positivity as a country is the most important step. So yeah, that's
Right.
my two.
So, now if we move towards the new emerging areas in industry, also in shipping, and of course port operations and management. We hear a lot about green energy, about biofuels, uh, about LNG bunkering, so on and so forth. So if we have Dr. Utkigar here from one of India's foremost green energy companies, and I'd just like to get your sense, how do you see port operations and shipping as an industry evolving over the next few years with this entire push towards green energy, that to run these systems, as well as export of things like not of course green hydrogen, not for the time being, but green ammonia, biofuels, and others.
Okay, thank you very much. So, just one line in support of Maharashtra. I think we have already spoken, but I think here is a state who has a vision document to be $1 trillion economy.
Yeah.
Here is a state which has a roadmap, and I think ports have such a big role to play, not just for India to achieve the dreams. And like Mr. Singhal said, we don't want to put numbers, but indeed, our journey to be a developed nation can't be envisaged even without thinking about Maharashtra and the contribution it makes. The kind of foreign exchange it brings in terms of export revenues, the kind of employment it generates, and so on and so forth. And I think the ports have very important role to play. No discussion can ever be complete without sustainability. And I think that's also where Maharashtra has a big plan to become a net zero state. So I think one of the important dimensions of becoming a net zero country, nation, or a state is to be able to harness sustainable practices. One of that is adoption of biofuels. Now, already, I think today there is in newspaper that Honorable Minister Puri is on record stating that the nation saved 23,000 crores worth of foreign exchange by ethanol blending. We are talking about road transport that talks about sustainable aviation fuel for air transport has already begun, but we aren't that much in actually marine biofuels, which is one area which port and infrastructure can look into. Now, just look at the situation where there is so much rice that is grown in Konkan. And if that rice straw, which is a waste, can be used for making biofuels, which can actually help make biomarine fuels that can help the shipping operations more sustainable. We have not even talking about the greenhouse gas footprints of marine segment, because it's not affecting the air quality index and some of the other nuances that we have because of aviation and road transportation. So that's one area. Now, another area is making the port operations self-sustainable by themselves. So that's where again 100% ethanol run vehicles can be one good option. There are enough and more technologies worldwide where the same OEMs that are present in India have vehicles that run on 100% ethanol, or even blends that are in excess of 20% of ethanol. That minimizes the greenhouse gas emissions, that helps nation achieve the nationally determined contributions, and so on. Second is we can look at green hydrogen, which is again coming from the bio route. Again, the same farmers which are otherwise left out of the industrialization per se have an opportunity to sell part of their agri-waste to the biorefinery and actually get a revenue share into it. So we are talking about inclusive growth when we are including farmers into it. Third is the compressed biogas, which can be actually blended with compressed natural gas, one of the clean fuels. The policies are coming in that regard. Next area could be ethanol blending in diesel. That so many diesel vehicles that are run can actually work with ethanol blend. Another area could be in the area of dual fuel kits. So compressed biogas plus diesel. Existing vehicles, there are kits that can be fitted, and actually you can have sustainable operation. Then there are fuel cell electric vehicles. So there are transportation within the port, because port's area is huge, right? So there is a lot of footprints there. So and we all collectively can achieve national target of net zero if all the sigma of parts, whether it is individuals, corporates, societies, government offices, everybody comes together. So everybody starts measuring those footprints, we can very well achieve that. When we talk about industrialization, which is port associated, some of these biorefineries can definitely come on the coastal side. And they can, as Mr. Kamath said, generate an employment, include the farmer into the value chain, have more sustainable environment, make the whole system self-sustaining, so that the whole migration from rural parts of India to the urban part, where the cities are already crunch for infrastructure, can also be to some extent curbed. So I think biofuels and bioeconomy as a whole has a lot to do with making the whole port and port-led industrialization more sustainable. And that's very, very important, I think, because we often tend to undermine the ESG compliances and some of the stringent regulations that are going to come in play, like carbon tax, for example. We are already talking about Europe levying carbon tax. So we don't want to be led by the imposition of regulations to be able to harness green practices. And I think Mr. Kamath rightly said, India is one of the only countries in G20 club which is on course with his nationally determined contributions and targets.
Right.
So I think even the port-related industrialization, biofuels and bioeconomy as a whole has a big role to play.
Right. Like you just mentioned, I mean, I think Petronet LNG has been running LNG vehicles
Yes.
within its coastal import terminals at
Correct.
Dahej as well as
Correct.
Kochi.
Correct.
Right. So yeah, that's a great example of how these practices could be brought in. But the question about biofuels and these new generation fuels, be it green hydrogen, green ammonia, etc. Usually the first question that is asked is, it's not something very affordable. It's difficult to break even if you start using a lot of these expensive fuels. So how should the industry and the maritime sector, because maritime sector again is something which at times would be operating on wafer thin margins, because there is so much of trade, there's so much of competition. Uh, how can this become cost competitive for them enough to
So it's a
push
good-
wider
So it's
adoption?
a good point, but what's the cost of climate calamities? What's the cost of climate disasters? We're all seeing on WhatsApp horrendous videos from Japan. So somewhere all of us are contributing to making this global warming get to a next level. Climate change is causing damage that is irrevocable. So somewhere we cannot be so myopic in looking at everything on a profit and loss basis, because if you look at the bigger scheme of things, every time you contribute to sustainable practices, every time you graduate to more sustainable ways of harness energy transition, you are actually giving the next generation a better chance to lead a better life. Otherwise, all these discussions, it's so materialistic, but in the end, you have no fresh air to breathe.
But
In-
I'd like to add to Sir's one point. While it's true on the moral sense, sir, environment, but let's understand ultimately the wheels of commerce drive our stomach. So let me put out a point to bolster what Sir is saying. At the same time, highlight a very important commercial aspect. When the Orchid Hotel was started by my father in 1997, that time there was the normal bulb, which some of you may remember, the younger audience may not, but the older audience definitely, which used to become very hot, you could not touch it. It was a normal apna Bajaj ka bulb. That bulb used to be 60 watt, and that used to generate tremendous amount of heat. When Dr. Kamath started the Orchid Hotel in 97, it was the first 5-star eco-hotel hotel in Asia. And not a single bulb in our hotel at that time was this kind. It was all CFL. CFL at that time, the only company in India making that time CFL was Osram. Osram CFL was 5 times costlier than the normal bulb. Yet it was put. And what happened? Even after being 5 times costlier, the payback of that bulb was around 2.5 years, which we used to give presentations at that time and show. Now, over the next 8 years, the cost of that CFL became peanut. The new CFL which came was the LED. LED was very expensive. You know, when I changed the entire Orchid Hotel ka lights from keeping in mind with our ethos, where it's a balance between commerce and our responsibility. Even though we had very good CFLs, they still had a life of 10 years, 12 years. We converted all into LED, keeping into our ethos of both sustainability also and commerce. The ROI which we faced, even though LED at that time was 4 times costlier than CFL, the heat load which even CFL would generate was next to negligible in LED. And the return on investment, because many of the LEDs are on 24/7 in the lobby and all, we found the return was not more than 1 year. So it's a blend of commerce and early adoption.
Yes.
And if you didn't adopt early, if people did not have confidence in early adoption of technology, today none of us would be on this mobile phone. When mobile phone came out, that time also it was absurdly expensive. 32 rupees was one call, whether you got a right number or wrong, whether you made a call or you received. But today it has come down to paise. So let us appreciate that society, if it has to progress, there will be a cost of progress. EV cars today, there is a cost of progressing towards EV. There is a cost of progressing towards hydrogen. Does that mean we shouldn't? We have to. People who can afford will adopt early. They will support those industries who are struggling today but are the future of tomorrow.
So basically, you're saying that society needs people, particularly in the upper income strata, to
Not upper income, anybody, if it's your ethos. If it's not about strata of affordability or money. I know many small hoteliers who took inspiration from Orchid and put CFL in their restaurants and hotels, and they made money. So it's not about your economic status, it's about your mindset status, whether you want to do good for your home, your society. To sum it up, I just tell you, it's a one thing in our company. We tell our staff, you cannot be eco-friendly in Kamats and Orchid and be uneco-friendly at home. When you leave your office in the hotel, that each time they go for a meeting, they're supposed to switch off the light, AC, fan, which they diligently do. But I always tell them this example: you cannot do that at work and not in your house. If it's not a habit at home, it will not be a habit at work. If it's not a habit at work, it will not be a habit at home. So you've got to be eco-friendly 24/7.
Right.
You cannot be eco-friendly because I'm paying you for 8 hours.
Again, all these innovative technologies have a threshold or a tipping point.
yes,
So the volumes economies kick in, they become viable. I
Yes.
spent decades in wind, also in solar. They were never feasible to start with. Secondly, if we don't make a conscious choice, the legislations are coming. There is carbon tax. Even electric vehicle, they are talking about distance tax.
Right.
Because if you let go of petroleum revenue, how is the exchequer going to fund? So I think sooner than later, and then there is business sustainability responsibility reporting, right, which is already coming in. There is a mandatory CSR spend. So one will have to find ways to be able to adopt more sustainable practices. So if we don't give these new technologies a chance to hit that tipping point, the cost is extreme high. And
Right.
climate finance is one that sticking point where actually everybody needs to be leading by example. And big corporates are stepping up. There are many companies which are showing the way. Like
That's it.
Kamath Hotels is just one example. There is another that Wellspun was just talked about, that they are helping
Right.
keep the
So I'd
greenhouse gas.
just like to ask you one short question. So is Praj actively looking at marine biofuels? Is it
Oh, absolutely. So we are, as you know, these technologies have to meet that they have to survive this valley of death, which is exactly
Yes,
what we are
yes.
talking, which
Yep.
is the commercialization phase. But before you could get there, you have to make sure that they are absolutely fit for use. So there is you go from flask to bench to pilot to demonstration, and then go for commercialization. So we at our state-of-the-art laboratory in Uravde in Maharashtra only, where India's best biotechnologists, scientists are working together to not only come with marine biofuels, but green hydrogen, but sustainable aviation fuel, number of solutions which are more sustainable. And we are very reassured and confident that given the wonderful infrastructure and setup that Maharashtra has, it has numerous laboratories like ARAI, NCL, ICER, National NCCS. I mean, I can go on and on. In Pune itself, we are very confident that we will be able to come up. And not only that, one more point I wanted to leave you with, that India recently took lead in signing up global biofuel alliance with America and Brazil. In fact, it's touted as one of the best achievements of G20 presidency.
yes?
So with that Global Biofuel Alliance, India has an opportunity to export its technology, its equipments, its manpower, expertise in policy making, everything to especially the countries in global south who also have rich bioresources but do not have the equipment, technology, manufacturing capabilities. So that's again where the ports have a big role to play, where we make the equipments right here in India and export them using ports very efficiently to all the global south. If you look at countries around equator and below, they all are blessed with wonderful sun, land, and agriculture. But these resources aren't harnessed because there is no expertise. So we, Praj in specialty, has taken lead. We were at COP summit, and there was a overwhelming response to India's booth, where India had a strong presence of Global Biofuel Alliance. So I think that's great opportunity for Indian companies to actually export their technology plants, machinery, equipment. So that's where ports have a big role to play.
And perhaps you can set up some units near ports.
Absolutely. Why not?
Can I come in? On
Sure,
this?
Mr. Singh.
No, just to share the point that on this energy transition debate. Um, in fact, sitting in Rotterdam maybe last year at this time, and they were giving me this whole thing on green hydrogen. I think the really heartening part is that it is moving much faster than what we would have expected. I mean, when you say the whole world thing, when we were discussing it with some skepticism even 2 years back, or even now, when you say, oh, green hydrogen, but okay, that may be a distant thought. But no, not really. It is actually knocking at your doors. So it will be much faster than that. Number one. Number two, this whole debate on always that any new technology or shift or transition, the early bird has to get hit in terms of the cost, etc. All the good talk on the ethos on one part, but ultimately, well, I mean, it is always the cost thing. So there again, I want to share something. So Maritime India Vision, we said renewables up to this much percentage, 60%, 70% by let's say 2030. Now in 2024, or let's say 6 months back, we have revised it that the same thing can be achieved by 2026. We've advanced it by 4 years by going by the fact that they are all more than ready. When we talk about, let's say, in the port sector, shore power supply is a big thing, whereby when these big vessels come in, the kind of emissions that happen, because we do not do shore power supply except for those tugs or smaller vessels. Now we've put up this whole, we got all our operators together to get into, obviously the port is also spending some good money on the infrastructure so that shore power supply happens. Now there what happens is, again, a shipping line like Maersk comes up and says, yes, we will do it. We will get the hit, but we will do it.
Right.
So once that example is set, now a Mediterranean, a CMA,
you hit the
CGM,
nail
they
on the
have
head.
to. They have to.
You hit the nail
So-
on the head. The
so-
watermark is set. Yeah.
Yeah. So thereby then it is not just the legal or the mandated part, because what happens there is IMO said this, or whoever be the competent authority in various cases. After that, then we start finding ways to either postpone it, to give reasons. But once this whole thing becomes like ultimately what we call profits with purpose or whatever, the purpose part becomes clear somewhere, then it becomes a demonstration thing.
Right.
Then everybody wants to do it now, because let's say for JNPA we said, all right, we need to be known as that green port, that
Yes.
gives me pride, then that whatever you can sell the port better. These are those kind of added advantages which you get. So the sustainability debate, in fact, according to me, is taking a very interesting shape, and I'm hopeful that it will happen faster than what we are talking
I
about
think
here.
you couldn't have said this any better.
Yeah.
Trust me, when we flew India's first passenger commercial flight with a sustainable aviation fuel blend with AirAsia, India, and IOCL, we were flooded with inquiries from all the international, not just national, but international carriers. Can we do it? Should we do it?
Yeah.
You have done with them. We want to be the first one to fly international flight on this. So I think this is exactly the way it goes.
But like I was just coming to that point, and good you. I mean, great that you raised that the SAF flight. Yeah, I was at that event in Delhi when it happened. So now a lot of international queries might be coming to you, also because there is a mandate from ICAO, the Corsia regulations. Yes. So my question to you as well as Mr. Sethi is, what is the role of mandates in adoption of these technologies? Should there be a balanced approach where there should be voluntary adoption and a bit of nudge from government and international authorities, or should it be a hard bargain in terms of a mandate driven adoption?
That's a great point. See, it's bit of both really. There is no, different strokes for different folks. So technology development cannot stop for the mandates to come in. And I'll give you an example that we are setting up a 2G ethanol plant in IOCL Panipat,
Yeah.
for which the development was going on 10 years before the mandates actually kicked in. So actually the technology development needs to move on. The mandates will only accelerate it, will only bolster it. And like Mr. Sethi rightly said, the first mover advantage, I mean, they will indeed have the pains, but once they set a watermark, there is a tremendous pressure on the top of the line players to follow the line. So I think the mandates will follow, whether they could be in the form of incentivization, whether they could be in the form of penalization, whether they should be combination of both. It's something which countries to countries it changes. But just what we talked on SAF, and I think there was a mention of Dubai that Mr. Kamath meant, that if if sustainable aviation fuel becomes a mandate for blending, which it will from Corsia guidelines by 2027, they are also advancing.
And the Civil
Just
Aviation
see-
Ministry has also indicated
also
that from
indicated that.
2026
But just
they'll
see
start.
that today the global hubs are in Middle East and in Singapore,
Yeah.
where from they can produce sustainable aviation fuel. If they import from somewhere else, the whole purpose is lost. So India has a wonderful opportunity there, and same could be true even for marine industry.
Right.
There are great dry docks and shipyards in Middle East and in Singapore. But tomorrow marine biofuels becomes a mandate. Where from will other nations make it?
Right.
So I think that's a great opportunity in waiting. And I think since this panel was about future, I think this is a great area probably India is blessed to have, and we must capitalize.
Right. Mr. Sethi, mandates or voluntary adoption, how to strike a balance? From the
I
government
know. I don't know whether I have much to add. I mean, he's kind of answered it. But what is happening otherwise is that sometimes, in fact, regulation is not keeping pace with technology. A lot of times. I mean, giving you a completely different example of, let's say, drones. The regulation has not kept pace with that. We suddenly get to hear that a local DCP or somebody stopped somebody from doing B because the local police was supposed to form rules. But overall, let's say I am using a drone to sort of get the dredging that I have done. Let's say, I mean, some technology, whatever. But if I am using that, and suddenly the local guy doesn't know what's happening there. I mean, even in a port kind of environment, what we need to know and understand there is that, I mean, your probably question on mandate was more like that we must have these renewables up to this, etc. But in a broader sense, when we use the word regulation, it must keep pace with the kind of technology changes. And as I said, we will need to do it faster than that what we thought.
And so, Ms. Amin, if hypothetically some mandates were to be thrust upon you as a logistics player, how would you, react to that in terms of green energy? Would you pass it on to your consumers? Would you let your own P&L take a hit because of it?
We already, as logistics player, we have this no paper. So we're supposed to do this e-bills of lading, everything which is non-paper, whatever we could do it. All our offices, being a German company, are already mandated to have a e-friendly office. That means, you're sustainable. Tomorrow you can shut it off and it can be renewed, kind of a thing. So All our offices in Germany, America, and Europe are changed. Maybe in India, that the mandate will come soon as they know the regulation. We can find one office of a green office, and we are tending to do that. So,
But in terms of your operations also,
also.
yeah, in terms of your operations, if some sort of mandates come
So
in
we
that,
have the ships which already have these scrubbers, which have these fuel IMO-led things. So most of our 22 ships are already fixed with those scrubbers, and change of the new fuel mandate is done. As far as the equipment is concerned, we don't have them in India. So
Right.
we tend to use equipment which is, of course, of hydraulic nature. So most of the time, these don't get driven all the time on the road. And even
of
when they do, they are at only about a shorter distance because you can't move them cross country so long. So I think that portion is already taken care of by us. We try to as much as we can where it's possible. And of course, we have a mandate and a law from our head office to ensure that we follow the CSR and the sustainability. There's no way we can get away being a German company.
right?
I mean, just to add, I think good companies don't need mandates, right? It's just sustainable building. So, for example, we have around 20 million square feet of warehouses under construction in the country as we speak. We've already completed operating about 8 million, and all our buildings, each and every building, each and every park, including the one coming up in JNPA, is platinum certified buildings, right? Not gold, silver, it's platinum. There is no mandate for platinum. Nobody's asking for platinum. In fact, we even had a survey with our customers recently. Would you pay us more rental if we give you platinum? And they flatly said no, right? But we continue to build platinum. Why? Because we know one day, because we are in the business for long. The 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, that will command a premium. And then now my competitors have to say platinum because Welspun One is giving platinum. Similarly, we are putting solar panels on all our roofs, right? That's part of our platinum. So energy up to 4 p.m., 5 p.m. between skylights in the warehouses, which provide, so 3 to 4% of our roof is skylight. So you don't need to turn on a single light inside the warehouse. And the operations can be taken care by solar panels. So up to 4 5 p.m., there is no electricity required to run an entire 500,000 square feet warehouse, right? Post 5 to 6 p.m., we are now toying with giving the provisions for battery storage. So the day battery storage becomes affordable, we will be ready. All our old buildings will now be ready to adopt to battery storage. So even night operations can run with the stored power generated from solar in the morning. So that's already happening. We're doing all of that already, but we don't need a mandate or a law to tell us that. I mean, it's just in our DNA.
Yeah, good on you that you decided to do that despite your customers, hinting towards a no, right? So I think, I really enjoyed the discussion, and please don't think that I was trying to bash Maharashtra. I was just trying to get some responses out of you guys. So, right. We just have about 5 minutes. If any of you would like to ask the panel any questions.
Hello. Hello, I'm specifically from Vadhavan. So you come to the site, talk to people, pilgrims, then you'll come to know what is what. I'm nuclear power, Tarapur Atomic Power Center since last so many years. When CJ Chandrachud was there in High Court, since that matter is going on. What is going on? And especially Vadhavan matter, it has been going on since last 25 years when Justice Chandrasekhar Dharmadhikari was there. We don't know what is going on. Last year, Raja. Last year, I had argument in front of Justice A.B. Chowdhury. Okay? So I said, big ships will come, then big containers will come, and through some missiles will come, and they will vanish, destroy all nuclear power and taps Tarapur Atomic Power Center. So he said, but that is in Palghar Taluka. So I said, it is in Palghar district, and our committee is only for Dahanu Taluka. Am I right or wrong? And last year, I met Mr. Gharat. Your JNPT. He has invited me over there. So it is better. I had requested Justice what is it called? A.B. Chaudhary had said after this thing, rainy season, we'll definitely visit the site. Koi aaya nahi, nobody came.
So, sir,
Talk to.
What's the question?
so I'd like to just, I think what he's trying to say is
One
that
sec. You visit the site, but I have
Yes,
requested.
okay.
I have requested. Listen to me. This is very serious. This is my request. These police
Right.
people, they have already. क्या बोलते हैं उसको?
Right, sir.
Trashing.
Noted,
ladies,
noted.
Ladies.
Yes, sir,
What is going on?
we've taken note of your
That's all,
question.
Your Honor.
Yeah, basically, I think, you know, right. No, not really responding to it, but just. Yeah, we have time for maybe one more question. Yes, sir, all the panelists have taken note of your feedback, and I'm sure that they'll do something about it. Any other question? If somebody wants to ask a question, the gentleman there, and this will be the last question for this panel.
I'm from Navashava, JNPT project affected person, and I am working in JNPT, and I'm safety committee member since 20 years. So I studied and I'm doing all these things. You people are discussing here Gujarat and Maharashtra. Gujarat had in Gujarat there is a Godfather, but in Maharashtra is God place. That's it.
Right.
And that's why this development is going on. Nobody is there. I am a
Sir, do you?
villager.
Yeah,
One more.
no, I just wanted to ask you if you have a question for the panel,
Yes,
or is it just feedback? With all due respect.
And one more thing I want to say. One question is there. Now JNPT is giving a good salary to us, but the Videshi terminals are coming here. Foreigners, they just we say that हम दुबई में जाता है अच्छा पगार के लिए, हम सिंगापुर जाता है अच्छा पगार के लिए, ब्रिटेन में जाता है अच्छा पगार, लेकिन जब वो आते हैं इधर तो हमारे विलेजर्स को अच्छा पगार नहीं देते, क्या बोलते JNPT से बहुत कम देते, तो वो अगर अच्छा पगार देंगे तो हम क्यों रिफ्यूज करेंगे ऑल टर्मिनल्स, हम तो स्वागत करेंगे.
Right.
That's why.
It's a good point, but unfortunately, we don't have anybody from any international port here. So, right. So I think it was a. I mean, all of us enjoyed the session. I hope all of you enjoyed the session, and it exceeded your expectations of a post-lunch session in that sense, right? Thank you all for joining us, and I thank all my panelists.
अगेन थँक्यू सो मच वन्स अगेन. आणि या चर्चासत्राचा समारोप करण्यापूर्वी मी पुन्हा एकदा या सगळ्या मान्यवरांना एक छोटीशी भेटवस्तू आपण लोकसत्ताच्या वतीने देणार. त्यासाठी माननीय केविन सेंटॉस सरांना विनंती करतो त्यांनी कृपया व्यासपीठावरती यावं. सर्वप्रथम माननीय श्री संजय सेठी साहेब, ऑनरेबल एक्स चेअरमन जवाहरलाल नेहरू पोर्ट अथॉरिटी. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या त्यांच्यासाठी झाल्या पाहिजे. केविन सरांना विनंती करतो. श्रीमती शर्मिला अमीनजी इथे उपस्थित आहे, ऑनरेबल MD बॅटरिंग लॉजिस्टिक इंडिया प्रायव्हेट लिमिटेड. त्यांच्यासाठी सुद्धा एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या झाल्या पाहिजे. अंशुल सिंगल साहेब इथे उपस्थित आहेत, ऑनरेबल मॅनेजिंग डायरेक्टर वेल्सपून वन लॉजिस्टिक पार्क. त्यांच्यासाठी सुद्धा एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या. डॉक्टर रवींद्र उडगीकर साहेब इथे उपस्थित आहेत, ऑनरेबल VP कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रॅटेजी ब्रांच इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड. त्यांच्यासाठी सुद्धा एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या. विशाल कामत साहेब इथे उपस्थित आहेत, ऑनरेबल व्हाईस चेअरमन CII महाराष्ट्र अँड CEO कामत हॉटेल्स इंडिया लिमिटेड. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या त्यांच्यासाठी. माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री महोदयांचं इथे आगमन झालं. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्यांनी आपण त्यांचं स्वागत करूया. जोरदार टाळ्या आपल्या सगळ्यांकडून अपेक्षित आहेत. सन्माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री बंदर व जलवाहतूक आणि आयुष मंत्री माननीय श्री सर्बानंद सोनोवालजी, एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या पुन्हा आपल्या सगळ्यांकडनं. लोकसत्ता कॉन्क्लेव्ह मध्ये आपलं मनपूर्वक स्वागत. माननीय मंत्री महोदय जी से अनुग्रह कृपया आप मंच पर आए. आपल्याला आसनस्थ होण्याची विनंती करतो. नमस्कार. जवाहरलाल नेहरू पोर्ट प्राधिकरण प्रस्तुत लोकसत्ता पोर्ट्स कॉन्क्लेव्ह मध्ये पुन्हा एकदा सर्व मान्यवरांचं मनपूर्वक स्वागत. या कॉन्क्लेव्हचे सहप्रायोजक आहेत मुंबई पतन प्राधिकरण, आणि कॉर्पोरेट प्रायोजक आहेत CII. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या यांच्यासाठी झाल्या पाहिजे. ही सगळी माणसं आपल्या सोबत आहेत म्हणून अशा पद्धतीची ही जी कॉन्क्लेव्ह आहे याचं आयोजन करणं हे अधिक सोयीचं होतं. या कॉन्क्लेव्हसाठी खास उपस्थित सन्माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री, बंदर व जलवाहतूक आणि आयुष मंत्री माननीय सर्बानंद सोनोवाल साहेब इथे व्यासपीठावरती उपस्थित आहेत. एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या त्यांच्यासाठी झाल्या पाहिजे. मी सर्वप्रथम माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री महोदयांचं स्वागत करण्याची विनंती JNPAचे ऑनरेबल एक्स चेअरमन माननीय श्री संजय सेठी साहेब यांना करतो. मान्यवरांना आसनस्थ होण्याची विनंती करतो. माननीय संजय सेठी साहेबांना विनंती करतो, आजचा हा जो आपण लोकसत्ता कॉन्क्लेव्हचं हे जे आयोजन केलेलं आहे त्याच्यामागची नेमकी भूमिका काय आहे ते आपल्यासमोर मांडतील.
Honorable Minister for Port, Shipping and Waterways, Shri Sarbanand Sonowal ji, Shri Rajiv Jalota, Chairman, Mumbai Port and Indian Ports Association, friends. I think I'll just briefly. I mean, we just finished one panel discussion which was about future horizons for port-led industrialization, sir. I think the whole idea when Mr. Girish Kuber first discussed it with me of having this conclave was that ports as infrastructure and as engines of growth. Where are we going, and where does Maharashtra stand in this? The focus was also on how the state contributes to the national economy and how ports within that can contribute more. There's obviously a lot of discussion on how Mumbai Port and JNPA came up, and now how Vadavan will come up, which means that this will be one state with three major ports. So this is one state with, and there are some non-major ports also that exist. Digi was also discussed because that is something which is upcoming. The needs for future handling of cargo, whether containerized or non-containerized, whereby the requirements of sustainability, the future requirements that will also mean that our ports will have to handle differently, handle different products, and also measure up to the efficiency standards of the world. So the Ports Conclave aimed to talk about various aspects of how ports could be at the fulcrum of the $5 trillion economy dream that or the target that we have set for ourselves under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister. I think it also had this aim and also has been able to succeed in getting a lot of stakeholders together, sir, in these panel discussions, whereby they could talk about their expectations, their experiences, and how this sector will not only contribute more to the economy but remain vibrant. So these things were discussed, sir. I think that was, in short, the whole idea behind this conclave. Thank you.
धन्यवाद सर, खूप खूप आभार. यानंतर माननीय केंद्रीय मंत्री महोदयांना विनंती करतो ते आपल्याला संबोधित करतील. माननीय मंत्री महोदय जी, आपसे अनुग्रह कृपया आप हमें संबोधित करें.
Namaskar, respected editor of Loksatta, Sri Girish Kuberji, respected Chairman, Mumbai Port Authority, Rajiv Jalota ji, respected Sanjay Sethi ji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. सबसे पहले मैं आप सबको हृदय से नई साल के लिए शुभकामना देता हूं और ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूं आप सब तंदुरुस्त रहे और आनंदित रहे. आज की इस कार्यक्रम में मुझे आप लोगों ने बुलाया, इसके लिए मैं आप सबको आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं, विशेष रूप से लोकसत्ता फैमिली. And This is considered to be the most respected and popular Marathi daily, which was founded by legendary Ramnath Goenka ji. There's a long history of being one of the most credible newspaper in Maharashtra. And Loksatta is always known to be the voice of the people of Maharashtra. And it is really a moment that I pay my deep tribute to Ramnath Goenka ji, who was a true nationalist, and he fought the emergency. We all know it. At the same time, I want to pay my respect to Loksatta's legendary editor, Madhav Gadkari ji. I believe this is the contribution extended by those great thinker and nationalist. Today we have Girish Kuberji, who is continuing the rich legacy of Loksatta, highlighting people's issues, unbiased news and views. I believe this is the way we'll have to represent the people's hopes and expectation. And जनता की जो आवाज, इस आवाज को अगर कोई महत्व दे, इसका मतलब है भगवान को महत्व देना, क्योंकि मैं यही मानता हूं जनता जनार्दन है। तो इसलिए आप लोगों ने जनता को जिस हिसाब से सेवा की है, इसके लिए निश्चित रूप से आप सब धन्यवाद के पात्र हैं। I have a small written speech, and if you bear with me, I want to go through it. The theme of Future Horizons, Port Central Industrialization in Maharashtra, being discussed here today, is a very critical topic. Maharashtra is considered to be the richest state in the country, contributing to major part of the country's industrial output of around 15%. Maharashtra accounts for 60% of India's export. Maharashtra contributes over 40% of India's national revenue. Numerous industries were part of Maharashtra's success since past few decades, which helped to become India's leading industrial state in 20th century. EXIM and coastal cargo traffic in a major port of Maharashtra is increasing exponentially. Since about more than 90% of India's trade by volume is conducted via the country's maritime route, there is a continuous need to develop India's port and trade-related infrastructure to accelerate growth in the manufacturing industry and to assist the Make in India initiative. India has 12 major ports and 217 other ports with an installed capacity of 2,627 million ton per annum. 1,445 million ton per annum of cargo was handled in Indian port last year. Portless industrialization is a strategic approach that aims to optimize logistic costs by strategically placing industries in close proximity to ports. This model operates with a dual focus. Not only does it directly contribute to increase port traffic, but it also serves as a catalyst for significant employment generation. It is because of this significance under the port-led industrialization of the Sagarmala program, overall 14 projects worth of rupees 55,800 crores have been identified for implementation, out of which 9 projects worth of rupees 45,800 crores have been completed and 5 projects worth of rupees 10,000 crores under various stages of development and implementation. Major ports have also undertaken an exercise of industrializing the land available with them. 8,000 acres of land at major ports have been developed for industrialization with a potential to generate more than 2 lakhs direct and indirect employment. This is a very significant figures. Nowadays, all the initiative is mainly targeting to create employment opportunity, and that is the result we are getting. As a matter of reference, JNPA, yesterday Sethi was telling me that through the customs, brokers, they could able to provide more than 60,000 numbers of youth to earn their livelihood with dignity and pride. So this is the significant contribution. As in the Sagarmala program, we have put one of the vertical, very distinctive, coastal community development. This is what they are fulfilling the objective. In line with their above objective, a multi-project special economic zone project was conceptualized and developed by Jawaharlal Nehru Port Authority in Maharashtra at a cost of rupees 560 crores and operational since June 2021. The total area of SCJ project is 277.38 hectares. This industrial hub, inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister of India, is meticulously designed with state-of-the-art infrastructure to boast export-oriented industries in India. Because of this kind of, developing infrastructure, now the kind of, cost-effective approach and also logistic cost is being reduced. So this is the way, creating facility for the exporter and importers in a very, very modern way. Being close to Jain ports, the project promises ready availability of raw materials, access to global market, and strong multimodal connectivity. Access to upcoming multimodal infrastructure project including New Mumbai Airport, DFC Rail Corridor, Trans Harbour Road Link further increases the attractiveness of JNPA SCJ as a manufacturing destination. As part of the Green Initiative, the ministry has taken a significant stride towards sustainable industrialization by identifying and nominating key ports, namely Paradip ports, Dindal ports, and via Sidambarar ports to evolve into hydrogen hub. These hubs are envisioned to become integral centers for handling, storage, and generation of green hydrogen. This strategic initiative not only aligned with the country's sustainable development goals, but also reflect a forward-looking approach to industrialization, harmonizing economic growth with environmental consciousness. Under the National Industrial Corridor Program, 11 industrial corridor projects are being taken up, with 32 greenfield projects are to be developed in 4 phases. This ministry has already prepared a report on connectivity of ports to industrial nodes. The report identifies 24 roads and 38 rail connectivity infrastructure gap which have been shared with Ministry of Railways and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. By strategically aligning industries with port facilities, this approach not only boosts economic activities but also leads to the crucial reduction of logistic costs, fostering a more efficient and competitive business environment. Maharashtra, with two major ports having a capacity of 225.4 million ton per annum and 16 other operational ports with a capacity of 125 million ton per annum, has huge potential for port-centric industrialization. In financial year 2022, 5.6 million automobiles were exported out of Indian ports because of close proximity to JNPA and Mumbai port. These ports become a natural choice for the automobile manufacturing cluster in Mumbai, Pune, Nasik, Aurangabad. I would like to mention one more important factor. Maharashtra has huge crude oil refining capacity of 21.5 million metric ton per annum. The ports located in Maharashtra should plan and develop additional capacities for handling crude oil. They should plan for more than SPMs and oil jetties. Further, Maharashtra is one of the major engineering and capital goods cluster. To fully tap the potential, ports should add to their capacities to cater to EXIM for this segment. These are a few instances which I believe would further enhance the port-centric industrialization in the state of Maharashtra. Capacity creation for container handling, joint venture and takeover on non-functional ports of maritime boats, improving operational efficiency and offering berth of arrival, warehousing, cold storage, seen from end-to-end service delivery, etc. are intervention which should be taken by ports in Maharashtra. This step would help create an ecosystem and backward and forward linkages for promoting port-centric industrialization and port-led development in the region. While it will help trigger economic development near the ports, it will also create new opportunities for employment and upskilling for the local people. The recently concluded Global Maritime India Summit, inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in Mumbai, is witness to the immense potential which exists in the maritime sector of the nation. More than rupees 10 lakhs crore of investment were attracted during this 3-day summit. This government, under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, has invested heavily in development and modernization of maritime sector in the country. The focus of this government, therefore, has been on creating capacities and improving operational efficiencies in the major ports of the country. This has been seen in the fact that capacity of major port has almost doubled in the last 9 years, and today major ports are growing at a rate of more than 10.4% per annum. This is a significant growth. Due to quantum jump in operational efficiencies and streamlining of procedures for improving ease of doing business, the ranking of India, this is a very significant line I am quoting. Please note it down. This is very this thing remarkable success story created in the last few years initiative. The ranking of India in the World Bank's Logistic Performance Index report in 2023 in the international shipment category has jumped from 44th position in the year 2018 to 22nd position in year 2023. This is the jump. This is the growth story. This is the exemplary transformation in the country under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Further, the average container dwell time for India has reached a level of 3 days, which is better than countries like UAE, South Africa, USA, and Germany. Turnaround time of Indian ports at 0.9 days today is better than USA, UAE, Singapore, Russian Federation, Malaysia, Ireland, Indonesia, New Zealand, and South Africa. So this is the growth. This is the transformation. This is the success story. I believe whatever initiative has been taken since 2014 till today, I believe this is the, changes, I believe, not only seen by the people of the country, but also experienced, and particularly the growth story which has been created, and as a result, contribution from the different ministries' initiative under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister. Now, country is now enjoying the 5th largest economy in the world. So I believe this is how India has taken the, center stage in the global platform. Government trust on bringing investment, unlocking capacities, and improving efficiency by induction of latest technologies and state-of-the-art system through public-private partnership has yielded excellent result. The pace of implementation of PPP project can be seen from the fact that while only 37 PPP project worth of rupees 16,180 crores could be operationalized till the year 2015, it has increased by almost 150% with 462 PPP project worth of rupees 40,345 crores already operationalized by financial year 2022-23. Target of the government is to complete and operationalize more than 140 PPP project worth of rupees 1.3 lakhs crore by the year 2030. JNPA, our premier container port, has been continuously setting new benchmark for all the ports in the country to follow. With complete switch over to landlord model, JNPA has been able to leverage efficiencies and adopt best global practices to extract maximum benefit from the PPP, creating a win-win situation for all the stakeholders. With their new development like India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor in the pipeline, there is a need to create capacities on the western coast of the country for handling EXIM cargo. Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways has approved creation of additional container handling terminal at Tonatikra, Kandna, looking at the projected traffic with the coming of IMEC and operationalization of International North-South Transport Corridor. The proposed mega project at Vadhavan will prove to be a big enabler for facilitating EXIM cargo handling at the projected level of growth in volume in the coming years. With its deep draft, the Vadhavan port will be able to service mega-sized vessel carrying up to 24,000 TEUs. Its locational advantage, this proximity to DFCC, IL track alignment and Mumbai-Delhi National Highway will help in providing excellent rail and road connectivity to foster cargo evacuation and deeper access to hinterland and thereby result in reducing the cost of logistics in the country. Reduction in the cost of logistics in the main focus of this government under the novel initiative launched by our Honorable Prime Minister under PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan as envisioned in the National Logistic Policy. Vadhavan Megaport will provide all operational advantages for achieving the objective of National Logistic Policy and will immensely boost port-centric industrialization, leading to creations of lakhs of employment in and around Maharashtra. This is the most significant point. Lakhs of employment opportunities. So I believe this is the objective behind setting up of this particular mega ports. And I believe this is not only to create employment, but also it will give access to the global platform. I believe as a leading maritime nation, India will have a most distinctive, remarkable place in the global center stage. Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways has developed a roadmap and an action plan for making our ports at par with the best in the world. We aim to improve quality of service, quality of infrastructure, promote safety, sustainability, improve security, and reduce cost of operation to make our ports the preferred ports of call for the shipping lines. We are working towards maintaining the momentum and improving the position of Indian ports further in the World Bank LPI ranking in the coming years through more and more public-private partnership and adopting innovative business model for improved ease of doing business for all the stakeholders. Our Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047, released by Honorable Prime Minister during the Global Maritime India Summit in Mumbai recently, aims to restate India's position as the global maritime leader in the coming years. The state of Maharashtra, with its immense potential in port-led industrialization and growth, would be a major stakeholder in the growth story of the nation. Thanking you for this particular opportunity you have given to me. मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूं कि आज परम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जो बदलाव लोगों ने देखी है और जो विकास संभव हुई है, पहले 2014 तक आप लोगों ने खुद देखा है कि पोर्ट की हालत किस अवस्था में रहे, तो आज उसी पोर्ट को सजाया गया है, मॉडर्नाइज किया गया है, मैकेनाइज किया गया है, डिजिटाइज किया गया है, आधुनिकीकरण करने के वजह से आज पोर्ट का इफिशिएंसी एनहांसमेंट हुई है, पोर्ट का कार्गो हैंडलिंग कैपेसिटी बढ़ चुका है और पोर्ट ने दुनिया का अलग अलग देश से आए हुए जहाजों को कम समय के अंदर लोडिंग अनलोडिंग का फैसिलिटी देते हुए ये बात साबित की है कि हिंदुस्तान किसी से कम नहीं है. सो वी आर द एज कैपेबल एज द अदर डेवलप्ड नेशन इन द वर्ल्ड. आपने देखी है कई पैरामीटर में, ये कोई हमारी आंकड़ा नहीं है, ये कोई हमारे रिसर्च फाइंडिंग नहीं है, ये वर्ल्ड बैंक का लॉजिस्टिक परफॉर्मेंस इंडेक्स रिपोर्ट है. इस रिपोर्ट ने यह बात साबित की है कि कितना शक्ति हिंदुस्तान ने हासिल की है. तो इसलिए अगले दिनों में मैरीटाइम ट्रेड, मैरीटाइम नेशन के हिसाब से और अपने जलमार्ग की विकास के सिलसिले में जो भी कार्यक्रम रचना की गई है माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में, ये निश्चित रूप से अगले दिनों में आउट ऑफ द 139 leading maritime nation in the world, I believe we are going to take the position among the top 10 maritime nation in the world, no doubt about it. ये जो मैंने आज एक लिखित जो भी आपका पास मैंने बात रखी है, तो इसमें इसलिए मैंने इसको पढ़ा क्योंकि यहाँ आंकड़ा है. आंकड़ा का बिना ये बात साबित नहीं होती कि हम कितना दूर तक सफलता हासिल की है. तो मुझे लगता है कि इसके जरिए आपने जो तस्वीर देखी है, विकास की तस्वीर, इससे जो रोशनी उभर के आई है, देशवासियों को उजागर की है, मजबूत की है, मनोबल दी है. और हमारे 7,500 किलोमीटर जो कोस्टल इलाका है, गुजरात से लेकर इस तरफ वेस्ट कोस्ट और दूसरी बंगाल तक ईस्ट कोस्ट, बे ऑफ बंगाल, अरेबियन सी, और साथ में जो भी हमारे राष्ट्रीय जलमार्ग है, कुल मिला के 111 नेशनल वाटरवेज है, इसका लंबी है 20,400 किलोमीटर. सो उनके विकास के लिए भी जो भी कार्यक्रम रचना की गई है, इसके वजह से आज आप देखिए इंडियन वाटरवेज ने भी जो सफलता प्राप्त की है, उसी कालखंड में ओनली 2014 तक देश के अंदर ऑपरेशनल नेशनल वाटरवेज सिर्फ 3 हुआ करता था. और आज परम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने सारी व्यवस्था को अध्ययन किया, अनुसंधान किया और 111 तक उसको बढ़ाया. और थ्रू टेक्नो इकोनॉमिक फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट एंड डीपीआर ये बात साबित हुई कि इनमें से 26 ऐसा जलमार्ग है जो ऑपरेशनल के लिए ये वायबल है. तो इसके लिए इसको बढ़ावा देने के लिए सिर्फ कार्गो वेसल, पैसेंजर वेसल को ही उसमें लागू नहीं की गई है, साथ साथ में रिवर क्रूज भी विशेष रूप से बढ़ावा दी गई है, जिसके वजह से आज दुनिया में सबसे लंबी दूर का अगर किसी ने सफल पूर्वक पूरा किया है वो MV गंगा विलास 2023 का जनवरी 13 को, जिसको माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने फ्लैग ऑफ की थी बनारस से, और बनारस से लेकर डिब्रूगढ़ तक का जो यात्रा शुरू हुई, बीच बीच में कई लोगों ने ऐसा आलोचना व टिप्पणी भी दी थी, ये जहाज चलेगा नहीं, कहीं फंस जाएगा, गंगा में पानी नहीं है, ब्रह्मपुत्र में पानी नहीं है, नदी सूख गया है। लेकिन ये साबित हुई कि मोदी जी का जो सपना है ये सही है। उन्होंने जो विजन तय किया था हमारे जलमार्ग के विकास के लिए, उन्होंने रिवर कोर्स को बढ़ावा देने के लिए जो निर्णय ली थी, इस निर्णय ये साबित हुई, ये सफल हुई, और 3200 किलोमीटर का डिस्टेंस सीमलेसली उसको पूरा किया गया है। ऑल distinct passengers who have boarded in that particular cruise, MV Ganga Vilas, it was all Swiss citizen. So they have ultimately, after the completion of the voyage, when they have expressed their kind of experience, they have expressed highest level of their satisfaction, and they have said that we are willing to come back soon, again back to India. So this is how this particular cruise has created a perception, optimism, and given motivation to the European and American citizen to visit India again and again. Now, for your information, I'll be very happy to let you know that MV Ganga Vilas cruise is booked for the next 7 years by all foreign citizens. So this is the power of Honorable Prime Minister's vision. जो पहले कोई देखे नहीं थी, शक्ति को उन्होंने किसी ने देखे नहीं थी। हमारे जलमार्ग में जो शक्ति, संपदा और संभावना है, इसको उजागर करने के लिए, इसको बढ़ावा देने के लिए जो भी सही नीति अपनाया है, जो कार्यक्रम रचना की गई है, सही समय पर उसको लागू की गई है, इसके वजह से आज सफलता संभव हुई है। और गंगा हो या ब्रह्मपुत्र हो, हर नदी का दो पार में बचे हुए जनता को भी मौका मिला है इस पार से दूसरी पार तक रिश्ता जोड़ने में, और शादी ब्याह का साथ साथ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स, इंटरनल जो भी ट्रेडिंग के सिलसिले में जो भी उनको मौका मिली है, अलग अलग जेटी बनी गई है, जिसके वजह से कार्गो जेटी, पैसेंजर जेटी का काम पूरा हुई है। इसके वजह से आज नदी को कैसे हम अपने जीवन सजाने के लिए सही इस्तेमाल करें, इसका भी सही दिशा परम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने देशवासियों को दिया है। इसके वजह से आज ये सफलता संभव हुई है। तो इसलिए मैं तो मानता हूं पानी में पैसा है। तिवारी जी, पानी में पैसा है। मैं इसलिए कहना चाहता हूं, जल का बिना इस दुनिया ना जलवायु हो सकता है, पानी का बिना पर्यावरण तो नहीं हो सकती, पानी से ही पर्यावरण होती है, और पानी का बिना कोई प्राणी नहीं जी सकती। तो इसलिए पानी का महत्व आज सही समझाने में परम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो मेहनत, जो सही उन्होंने कार्यक्रम रचना की है, इसके वजह से आज पोर्ट शिपिंग वाटरवेज मंत्रालय ने जनता के सहयोग से, आप लोगों के सहयोग से काफी काम करने में सफलता प्राप्त की है। इसी शब्दों का साथ मैं फिर से हमारे परम आदरणीय लोकसत्ता की एडिटर गिरीश कुबेर जी को, सारे साथियों को मैं विशेष रूप से धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं। और साथ साथ में आज इस कार्यक्रम के लिए हमारे विनोद तिवारी जी ने मुझे कई बार उन्होंने ये कहा, सर्वानंद तुमको जाना चाहिए। तो इसलिए आई एम ऑल्सो थैंकफुल टू यू तिवारी जी, एंड विथ माई टू वेरी कॉम्पिटेंट डायनेमिक चेयरमैन और जलोटा जी, सेठी जी, दोनों ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया है। और कल हम लोगों ने ये हमारे सेठी जी का मतलब 5 साल उन्होंने सफलपूर्वक JNP को जिस हिसाब से उन्होंने ये किया, मैनेज किया है, तो इसके लिए मैं उसको कल सभी की उपस्थिति में हम लोगों ने धन्यवाद भी दी है। और साथ साथ में अब जलोटा जी ने भी हमारे कोस्टल क्रूज को बढ़ावा देने के लिए काफ़ी नई नई कदम ली है। तो मैं चाहता हूँ आप लोगों का सहयोग से, महाराष्ट्र ऐसा एक प्रदेश है जिस प्रदेश ने देश को शक्ति देने का काम किया है। देश का अर्थव्यवस्था को मजबूत बनाने का काम किया है। इसलिए आप महाराष्ट्र की सब यहाँ की बचे हुए हमारे परम आदरणीय नागरिकगण, आप सबको मैं फिर से नई साल की शुभकामना देते हुए मेरी वाणी को यही विराम देता हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
धन्यवाद माननीय मंत्री महोदयजी, बहुत बहुत आभार. यानंतर माननीय श्री राजीव जलोटा साहेब, ऑनरेबल चेअरमन मुंबई पोर्ट ट्रस्ट, यांना विनंती करतो ते आभार व्यक्त करतील.
Our Honorable Minister for Port, Shipping and Waterways and Minister for Ayush, Shri Sarbanand Sonowal ji, Mr. Sanjay Sethi, Mr. Girish Kuber and all his team from Loksatta, distinguished ladies and gentlemen from the shipping industry and logistics industry. Actually, this Ports Conclave for Maharashtra, focusing on Maharashtra and how ports can help industrialization or how industries can get support from ports. The basic objective of this conclave was to bring this concept in more, one can say, forefront, and bring some industry players to discuss and deliberate over 2 sessions which were very focused. And I believe very good insights came from these sessions. And with Government of India and Government of Maharashtra coming together through Sagarmala initiatives, through the Maritime States Development Council initiative and other initiatives, PM Gati Shakti program, the National Logistics Policy, the digitization programs, I believe that through this Ports Conclave, we can give good insights to Government of Maharashtra for taking steps with support from Government of India towards further increasing the industrialization and growth of ports in the state, because our EXIM cargo is set to increase by 4 to 5 times till Amrit Kal of 2047, and there are great challenges to achieve this increased demand. On behalf of the organizers, Loksatta Group, Jawaharlal Nehru Port, Mumbai Port and CII, I warmly thank our Honorable Minister Shri Sarbanand Sonowal ji, who took time from his busy schedule to attend this program and give you a snapshot of the achievements of the present government as far as port, shipping and waterway sector is concerned over the last decade, and what lies ahead in this sector, and how Government of India is fully poised for achieving the objective of ease of doing business. We are really grateful to you, sir, for your august presence. I am also grateful to everybody in this room who gathered for 2 sessions and gave their insights to make this program a grand success. And hopefully, this conclave becomes an annual event and gives good insights to both the state and central government for showcasing Maharashtra, because Maharashtra and Gujarat, they are the both most industrialized states, and the port sector of these 2 states has a lot to offer for the country to progress. Thank you, everybody.
यानंतर माननीय मंत्री महोदयांचं आपण लोकसत्ताच्या वतीने एक छोटीशी भेट आपण त्यांना देणार आहोत, आणि ते देण्यासाठी मी माननीय श्री राजीव जलोटा साहेब यांना विनंती करतो, त्यांच्या हस्ते आपण माननीय मंत्री महोदयांना एक छोटीशी भेटवस्तू देऊया. पुस्तक भेट आपण देतो सगळ्या मान्यवरांना, लोकसत्ताची ती प्रथा आहे. यानंतर आणखीन एक रेखाचित्र आपण त्यांना भेट म्हणून देणार आहोत, आणि ते देण्याकरिता मी लोकसत्ताचे सन्माननीय संपादक माननीय श्री गिरीश कुबेर सरांना विनंती करतो, त्यांनी कृपया व्यासपीठावरती यावं. त्यांच्या हस्ते आपण एक छानसं रेखाचित्र जे आहे ते लोकसत्तातर्फे आपण त्यांना देणार आहोत. पुन्हा एकदा जोरदार टाळ्या आपल्या सगळ्यांकडनं अपेक्षित आहे. व्यासपीठावरील मान्यवरांचं एक समूह छायाचित्र, एक ग्रुप फोटो आपल्याला हवाय लोकसत्तासाठी.